The next thing we wanted to share with you is this Cocoapods. So Cocoapods is a library manager, the different kind of libraries, especially third-party libraries, okay, for Xcode and iOS projects. So there are some things which Apple do not implement, and there are some also other third-party libraries that can actually do very good frameworks or projects. For example, the UI framework that Apple did not do, but I think some other free third-party libraries can do it very well. So those are actually managed by this library called Cocoapods. So Cocoapods is an open source framework. It's created using Ruby. So you can actually install it onto your iMac or MacBook. The link is over here, cocoapods.org. So you can actually go to this link and take a look at the website. Okay, so this is the website for cocoapods.org. So as mentioned over here, so Cocoapods is what we call a dependency manager, specifically for iOS and Apple projects, Swift and Objective-C. There are many thousands of libraries, not just Cocoapods, there are other libraries also. First part that we need to do is to install Cocoapods onto your iMac or MacBook. So this part, you need to have administrator access to your computer. By default, it's using Ruby. So Ruby should be installed in your Mac. Okay, for those who are using Windows, unfortunately, you can't do it because this Cocoapods only works for Mac. Okay, so to do that, you can actually type this command inside your terminal. If I go over to my Spotlight, search for terminal. Then after that, you launch it. Okay, so this is terminal. For those who are using Windows, this is the Mac or the Linux equivalent of the console panel. Okay, so over here, what you need to do is you need to type in this command sudo gem install Cocoapods. Okay, so this is the command. Sudo is the super user command for administrator. Gem is the command for the Ruby command, and this will install the Cocoapod library. I have installed before, so I think they'll prompt me for password. Then I'll just type in my password, and after that they'll try to install. Okay, then they'll try to install the Cocoapods on your MacBook or your iMac. Okay, so because I have already installed, that's why it's very fast. So this is my Cocoapods library 1.10.1. So now the question is this, what can I do with Cocoapods? What is it for? If you look at the PowerPoint slides, we actually have some different libraries that we can show you. So over here, I added 2 animated GIFs for this on this website called Coco Controls. This is another website, but basically they also house the same thing. So let's say, for example, in your project, you may be asked to add a special Cocoapod library. So these kind of fanciful menus you don't normally see in Xcode because Apple don't support this kind of fanciful menus like this. If you are going to install, if you want to use these kind of menus or tab bars or fanciful UI items, right, chances are you need to use Coco Control. Okay, Coco Touch, Cocoapods. Okay, Coco Control is another website where you can see. So if you click on this link, Coco Controls. So most of these components are open source and free, obviously. So of course, they have different licenses. Some of them are GPL, some of them are MIT, some of them are different licenses. So these are some of those libraries that you can actually create or use inside your app. Okay, so for example, let's say you want to let's say I want to add a menu. For example, you can search for a menu. For example, menu, let's say menu. Okay, so these are some of the menus that they have available on the these Cocoa controls. Okay, so all these menus are fanciful menus which you don't see inside this. For example, let's say this menu, CD circular menu. This is a particular menu created on Swift UI. Okay, let's say you tap on the app to play. So this will show you how the menu looks like on the simulator itself. Okay, so if you click on the menu, you see, ooh, menu pops up. Okay, so very nice. So some kind of fanciful menu which you normally don't see on Xcode. Okay, depending on the different options you choose. Okay, so all these fanciful menus or different UI or different animation, you can actually search for them under this website called Cocoa Controls or Cocoapods, and you can actually use them in your project. Okay, most of them are free. MIT license is free. Some of them are GPL, so you need to be a bit careful about the licenses if you want to use it in your project. Okay, so you can actually see, for example, the source code. Okay, for example, if I want to view it on GitHub, you can see the project on the GitHub itself. Then they will show you the project source code on GitHub for this particular library. Okay, called CD circular menu. Okay, so yeah, the library is quite straightforward. You can see they will show you how to install it. Requirements iOS 13, Swift 5, Xcode 11.4, and so on. Okay, so yeah, you can download the code if you want and try it yourself. Okay, so this is example for the Cocoa control. There's another one, the Cocoapods, which you can actually try. The Cocoapods looks like this. For example, just now, okay, during the break, I was looking for some examples. So this is one example of a sliding menu on iOS. Okay, so it's called slide menu. What it looks like this. So these are some of the preview GIFs of how the menu looks like. Okay, there's a slide menu, slide left, and this is slide under. So all these menus are not available in iOS, in the native iOS Xcode. So if you want to use them, you need to do some extra installation. Okay, so so how to install it? Okay, so if you scroll below, they will show you a couple of options. The first way is to use Cocoapods for installation. Okay, one way is to use Cocoapods, and inside the Cocoapods there will be a file called a pod file, and all you need to do is just add this line called pod side menu Swift. That's all. Okay, so this is one way of installing it using Cocoapods. There are other package manager library. For Swift, another popular package manager is called Carthage. Okay, so Carthage is similar to Cocoapods. It's also another package manager for Swift. For our case, we just concentrate on Cocoapods. Okay, so you can actually use this way to install onto your Xcode project. Okay, then after that, all you need to do is you can either use it in the storyboard or you can just use programming to actually install it. Okay, so these are how you can do it. So let's try it out using a Swift project over here. So I presume you have already installed the Cocoapods earlier on. If you have not installed the Cocoapods, then you may not be able to follow these steps over here. Okay, so you need to install the Cocoapods before we can install these kind of libraries on your Xcode project. Okay, so let's try it out. Okay, so for this case, let me go to my Xcode and let me see Cocoapods. Okay, I need to go to the project and create a pod file. Okay, so I need to create a pod file. So let me go to my Xcode. Okay, so let's say I want to create a new project. So Xcode. Then after that, you will create the normal single view app. Okay, so we will just create a simple blank app for now. So we just create a simple iOS app. Then let me just go through the same usual stuff, give it a name. So my new app, let's say storyboard, Swift, UI kit. Okay, fair enough. The rest I think, okay, just leave it for now. And let me just create the app. So now let's say I created my app. So I put it inside this folder. It's called Xcode 12. I hope the Xcode launched correctly. Okay, so just wait for a few seconds more for the Xcode project to finish. I have created a blank Xcode project. Okay, so now this is my blank Xcode project. I haven't added the new library yet. So what I can do is, let me go to the folder where I created this project. So I'll go to Finder. My app is residing in the Documents folder. Okay, so this is where I created my project. So I save it inside Documents, this folder called My New App and so on. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to go to the terminal. Okay. So the instructions are all inside the Cocoapods getting started page. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is I want to create a text file, which is called pod file, inside the Xcode project. So just now I have created the Xcode project, which is here. So this is my Xcode project. So I need to create a pod file inside here. Okay, so I will go over to the terminal to go to my project there. So let me see, I'm now in user. So I need to go to documents, map, Xcode. Okay, so my project is called my new app. Okay, so I go to the terminal, go to my project here. So my project files are over here. So let me create a new pod file, a text file called pod file. So just use nano pod file. And this is an editor which you can use in terminal. It's called nano. Okay, so what I'll do is I can actually create the file just by typing here iOS comma dash. Okay, instead of 8 maybe I can use 14.0. Use frameworks. Okay, if you don't want to type out, you can actually copy this whole thing. Okay, it's the same. So right now you want to define the pod file that you want to use. Okay, so remember just now the pod file I want to use is called side menu. Can you see? So just copy this one, pod side menu Swift, and go over here and paste it here. Okay, so this is how you add the pod file. The rest you don't need, you can throw away. So you can delete Swifty, JSON, all this you can delete away. Okay, so this is the, so let's say you just want this. Okay, then after that you just use Control X Control X to exit. Yes. Save to file called pod file. So now I have this file called pod file inside my project directory. So just to double check, you can cat the file to make sure that the content is what you typed just now. Okay. So let's say this is the Xcode. You want to use a framework. Oh yeah. Because we are using the project just now is Xcode. We are using Xcode 14, right? 14.4, I remember. Where is it? 14.4. So I think we need to change this also. So I need to change to platform to 14. Okay, so same thing, Control X, save. Okay, so now I have this pod file created inside my project. So now I'm ready to create the Cocoapods file. So now I need to key in this command pod install. Pod install. Press enter. And it will install the pod files inside the Cocoapods pod file inside this Xcode project based on what you set on site the pod file configuration. Oh, okay. Maybe I forgot one thing. Let me check the file again. My target file name should be the same as the Xcode project. So my Xcode project was called my new app. So I think my pod file must also change. Okay, so this one should be the same as the Xcode project name. Okay, so let me just save the file again. And then no pod install again. Let's try. Okay, great. So now, if everything goes well, after you do the pod install, this is what you will see. Okay, you should be able to see this whole thing. Blah, 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 installing the library, side menu, Swift, generate the pods project. And yeah. So now what you need to do is the pods have been added to the Xcode project. So you need to restart the Xcode project. We close this because they make some changes to the Xcode project. That's why you need to restart the Xcode project. So yeah, as mentioned here, close any existing Xcode project and use this file instead. XC workspace. Okay. Don't use the workspace. Use the XC workspace later on. Okay. So now I have closed my Xcode. So let me go to the project folder just now. If you notice carefully now, now my project file, my new app has some new files. Okay. So the first file they added is this XC workspace. Okay, just now there's only one file called Xcode project. Now they have another new file called XC workspace. And of course, the pod file that we added just now. So we are going to start the project using XC workspace. Don't start using Xcode project. Okay, this is the old one. Because we have added the new pod file, so we are going to use XC workspace instead. So start using this one, double click using this one. So you double click this file and it will launch on the same Xcode. Okay, so my after installing the pod, it will show this on the menu. Okay, so there will be a new menu that you see on your Project Explorer. So on the left hand side, you will see on the Project Explorer the same my new app Xcode project. And this time around, there is another new option called pods. And there's also a pods folder. Okay, so inside the pods option inside Xcode, you will see the pod file that you added just now. Okay, so this is the pod file, and also the pods that you just added, the side menu Swift pods. Okay, so after I install the pod file, I should be able to see the pod file inside my Xcode, and this is the pod library I just installed. So all these things I can actually use it freely in my Xcode project. Okay, so how do I use it inside my project? You need to look at the particular library that you want to add. So for example, side menu Swift 2.07, the installation instruction says after I added the Cocoapods, I can use it to define the side menu inside the storyboard. So what I can do is UI controller extension to get the parent side view controller. Okay, so I'll go to my storyboard. Okay, this instruction actually varies according to different library. So it depends. If you use other libraries, then the instruction will be slightly different. So basically, you need to go to the library, whichever UI component you want to use, right? Then you have to read the instruction and install accordingly, because every library works differently.